Hey, Mark Rose here. Just got here at the Chiller Theater Convention with the first interview of the weekend, but the best interview of the weekend. Good-looking Mr. Bruce Dern. How are you, sir?
Good, sir.
You look marvelous.
I'm in the top million.
Good. Yes, indeed.
I'm in the top million.
You have been such an actor extraordinaire. People love your career. You come out to shows. Is this your first autograph show, sir? Your first signing show?
It's my first one of these shows.
Yes, sir.
And this is the best show I've ever been to.
Outstanding. Chiller's a good show.
And you know why?
Yes, sir. Why?
It's because the fans are genuine,
yes, sir,
enthusiastic,
yes,
and they've seen the movies.
Outstanding.
And they've seen movies you don't want that they've seen, that they come to pictures with. I did one called The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant. I signed 20 pictures for him.
Now, was that Rosie Greer?
No, there were two. He was Ray Milland and Rosie Greer, and mine was with Casey Kasem and Pat Priest.
Thank you. I remember Pat Priest from the Munsters.
Yeah, and who was her mother? And who was her mother?
Who? I don't know.
Ivy Baker Priest was Treasurer of the United States.
Oh my God!
For 18 years, signed every dollar bill or bill in the country.
That's amazing.
That's her mother.
I totally forgot that. Your career is immense. How did you actually first get involved in the business and industry of acting? What really got it in for you? What really gave you your incentive to want to be an actor?
Well, I grew up in a household where I had to raise my hand to be called on at dinner. And it was because I had a lot of well-known political people. I mean, my godfather is Adlai Stevenson. My grandfather was Secretary of War and the first non-Mormon governor of Utah.
Yes, sir.
My uncle was Archibald MacLeish, who was a famous poet and playwright. So I had to raise my hand to be called on. And rightly so,
yes,
probably.
sir. Yes, sir.
So I was always interested in communicating verbally and vocally.
Yes, sir.
And I went to the University of Pennsylvania, and when I left after my sophomore year, I went to a little dramatic school in Philadelphia. And I had 3 goals. 1, go to New York. 2, work for Kazan. 3, become a member of the Actors Studio.
Outstanding.
And a lot of us in that time, that's what we wanted to do.
Yes, sir.
And all happened to me very quickly. Good. And the first Broadway play I was ever in was called Shadow of a Gunman. Susan Strasberg was the star of it, and her dad, Lee, directed the play.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that's how I started.
And you are a wealth of trivia, especially in the business. What would you say of all the films that you've done in your career, which are so many to name, and you have so many photos to prove it, what's one of your favorites or most rewarding for you that you shot?
Well, I don't look back well.
Okay.
I'm always about my next film. An actor's only as good as his next film.
Yes, sir.
And I've always felt that
well put.
I like all the films that I've done, mainly because 80 people go for 8 weeks to make a movie. You become a family. And I can never look away from that 8 weeks and what that family did. So I love something about every one of them.
Outstanding.
I'm prouder of some than others.
Okay.
The only one I'm not as proud of as I should be is called Wonton Ton, the dog that saved Hollywood.
Oh my God.
It's about them making Rin Tin Tin a movie star.
Sir. Yes, sir.
But it's the people I got to meet in and everything were fabulous, because Art Carney and Madeline Kahn and me and a German Shepherd were the 3 stars. And then we had all the old people in it. The Marx Brothers are in it. The Ritz Brothers are in it. Henny Youngman is in it. Hedy Lamarr is in it. What's her name? Hedda Hopper is in it. Luella Parsons.
Yes, sir.
They all play little cameos in it.
Yes, sir.
And I love that. That was terrific.
My father's very reminiscent of the older days,
really?
too. My dad's been living with me for about 9 years with dementia, so his life is television. And when I come to these shows, as a reporter, he wants to know who I interviewed, and he's going to flip when he sees Mr. Bruce Dern. But your stories are gold, because nobody knows the stories you know, because you've lived the stories. Now, a lot of sci-fi fans are here with your one, the one sci-fi you did, Running Silent, I believe. Silent Running, and with the little robots, the little droid.
Huey, Louie, and Dewey.
Yes, that was fantastic. What got you involved in that? Because it was a sci-fi genre, a little off than what you were used to.
I think a guy named Mike Gruskoff produced it, and he had been my agent years earlier.
Yes, sir.
and he said, I want you to meet this kid. He's only 24 years old, but he's a genius. And I said, okay. Well, the kid was Douglas Trumbull, who directed Silent Running.
Sure, yeah.
And when he was a junior in high school, he won an Academy Award for special effects.
Amazing.
And what was the movie?
Star Wars.
2001.
Space Odyssey.
He was a junior in high school at Canoga Park High School.
That's right.
And Kubrick hired him, and because he showed Stanley Kubrick an 8-second strip of film in his bedroom at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Snuck in, faked that he was a waiter, said, "Look at this." And Stanley Kubrick looked at it, and Douglas ran it through his fingers. And Stanley Kubrick said, he was on the phone, and he put the phone down, and he says, "Who the fuck are you?" And Douglas says, "Oh, my name is Doug Trumbull." And he says, "Where did you get that?" And he said, "Oh, no, that's my little secret." And he said, "But that can't be done. How did you do that?" Well, what it was slit scanning, show scan. In 1968, all the effects in 2001 of the three-dimensional things tumbling in space, that's all a 17-year-old kid invented that.
That's amazing.
And Kubrick took him to England for 2 years. In this suite that day, he called him up. He said, "Is your either parent at home?" And Douglas said, "Yeah." Douglas was 17. So he called him up and he said, "Who's this?" And he said, "Who's this?" He said, "Well, I'm Stanley Kubrick." He said, "Oh, yes, Mr. Kubrick, what can I do for you?" He said, "Do you have a son named Douglas Trumbull?" And he said, "Yes, I do." He said, "He's just standing in front of me right now. Where the hell did he get this piece of film?" He said, "He made it in our garage." He said, "He made it in the garage with what?" He says, "Oh, little matchboxes hanging from fly paper."
That's amazing.
He said, "What? You can't do that." And he said, "Well," he said, Kubrick said, "Okay, I want to take your kid to England for 2 years." He said, "He's a junior in high school." He said, "No, I'll pay him and everything, but I need to rent his brain."
God.
And so he went, and they won the Academy Award for it.
Yeah,
and then Kubrick says at the end, he said, "Mr. Trumbull, do I have your permission?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "By the way, Douglas said that you're retired." He said, "Yes, sir, I am." "Well, what do you do now?" "Oh," he said, "I tinker around in the shop with Doug and everything." "Well, what did you do?" "I was the special effects man on The Wizard of Oz."
That's amazing.
How about
Good
that?
Story. Now, for you, coming out to shows, you'll see more shows, more fans. What is in the future for you? Do you have any projects?
You talked about science fiction.
Yes, sir.
I made a movie. It's coming out in January.
Good.
It'll be the biggest movie of the year. It's called Twixt. It was written, produced, directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
Holy cow.
It stars me, Val Kilmer, and Elle Fanning.
Wonderful.
And it's a gothic horror film in the movie to give you an idea of how Francis still pushes the envelope.
Yes, sir.
In the movie, Val is a broken down writer, and he writes like Stephen King, but he's not as good. And he comes to my little town, and he's interested in mayhem, and there'd been history of mayhem in my town. But he can only write when he dreams. In the movie, he dreams in 3D, and that's the only time you see it in the movie.
That's amazing.
And he dreams in color, but the movie's in black and white.
Has that been shot already, sir?
Yeah, oh yeah, no, so it opened the Toronto Film Festival 4 weeks ago.
That's great to have in your career profession
cool.
more. For you, downtime, off time, and I'll wrap this up. What do you like to do? What does Bruce like to do?
I'm a runner.
A runner?
And my, Wendy here is my assistant.
Hi, Wendy.
She's producing a movie that Laura and I and her mother are doing together called Heart's Location.
Wonderful.
And Laura and I have never worked together. But the mother and Laura have worked 11 times together. Woo. And a year ago tomorrow, Laura and her mother and I got stars on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yes, sir.
And it's the first time any family, mother, father, and child, has ever done that. We're also the only family to ever have mother, father, and child all been nominated for multiple Academy Awards.
Outstanding.
And so that was very, very cool. So now we're making a movie together. And Laura and the mom, in 3 of the movies they've done, they've been nominated for Academy Awards. In one, they were both nominated from the same movie. You know what it was called?
What was it?
Rambling Rose.
Wow.
Rambling Rose. Robert Duvall and Lucas Haas.
Yes, sir. My last question, because I'll wrap this up, and I'll ask if you'd kindly sign something on camera for me.
Yeah.
Would you please?
Will you kindly pay me for it? Would you please? No, I'm just kidding.
Here's my last question, and it all deals with autographs, with Autograph Magazine. If you, and I know you've worked with so many people in your career, or I should say they've gotten to work with you, if you could have an autograph of anyone, living, dead, fictional, anyone that you would like an autograph from, whether you collect or not, who would you like an autograph from, sir?
My godfather
really
was Adlai Stevenson.
That's right.
He ran for president twice. I never got his autograph.
Oh,
and I'll leave you with a story.
Yes.
He came to see me in Sweet Bird of Youth, which was my second play on Broadway. Mr. Kazan produced it and directed it. And it starred Paul Newman and Geraldine Page and Rip Torn. I had a little part in it. He came to see me to tell me, because my people were gone, how proud they would that I was in a Broadway play. Afterward, we went to dinner. And I was asking him questions, and he wanted to know how my career was going otherwise. And it was very early in my career, 1959.
Wow.
And I said, let me ask a question, Adlai. He said, what is it? I said, when you ran for president in 1952, and he said, oh, Bruce, he said, I ran against a guy who could not be beat. He said he was a fair man, he just won the war, he was a good golfer, he was God-fearing, and he was Ike. And I couldn't beat him. But he said, I thought I came in on a fairly white horse. And he said in 1956, when I came in the second time, and he grabbed my arm like this, reached across the table, and he said, we got tears in his eyes, and he said, somehow in 1956, that horse was a lot grayer. And he said, he gripped me and he said, I want you to do me a favor. I don't ever want you to vote for that office until you see somebody on a white horse. I haven't voted for president. And that's why I wanted his autograph.
Great story.
Yeah, I mean, because he was way ahead of his time.
Yes, sir.
He was big stuff.
Good deal.
And everybody forgets how important he was, and when the Kennedys came in and everything else.
Yes, sir.
Then he went to the UN and he didn't enjoy it, so he left, and Henry Cabot Lodge took his place.
What a great
But he was
story.
big stuff. And the other guy would be Robert Oppenheimer.
No, Oppenheimer, of course. Fantastic. And is there anything that you would like me to promote in the magazine upcoming that you'd like to get out there besides the films you talked about? What would you like me to get out there for fans and readers?
Arts Location, the TV show Enlightened, Wendy Guerrero and Ashley Reed, a writer and producer.
Good.
And you can give Diane a plug.
And I will. I'm happy to do it. Mr. Bruce Dern, thank you. You're a lovely man.
Oh,
thank you, sir.